to me, I find fairly unique about John Roger in my years with him. He has the ability to say, let's say, 3 or 4 words or a sentence, or at the most 2 sentences, which can stay with one a whole lifetime.
A whole lifetime.
Or just like 2 years, you're just kind of unraveling the depth of what he had to say. Do you have any of those kind of anecdotal experiences where he said like 2 or 3 words that kind of changed your world around and set you in another direction?
Oh, well, one of them that comes to my mind is the first time he said to me, "Be outrageous." And at the time, my view of myself was a very mousy sort of view. Introverted, let's put it this way, outrageous was not in my view of me. And he was just quite matter of fact about being outrageous and becoming outrageous. So that has been a lifelong, that was about 25 years ago. And I have often dealt with great despair that I am failing the outrageous, you know, which is not where you want to go with a hint from John Roger. You want to see it as an upliftment. And he's reminded me of it many times, but there have been, oh, so many. I mean, so many, and many of them are seeing his face and his eyes. I find John Roger's eyes something that is with me always, that if I close my eyes, I can see his eyes, and it's like the eyes of God, the eyes of of love, eternity, through the energy that comes through him. He awakens me always to my greater being.
Let's look at the outrageousness. Let's see if we can explore it with you. I'd like to kind of just focus two men in your life. Let's just see how instrumental they are. The first one I want to go back to is your grandfather, who you had mentioned. In a way, there you were, you know, up till the early hours of the morning talking. I mean, a man who was exploring India at a time when perhaps India wasn't that common for people to go to, certainly. Would you describe him as outrageous in many ways, or was he quite formal?
I mean, he wouldn't match my view of, perhaps I have a view of what outrageous is, you know, and that may be limiting. Like I saw this movie last night, and at the end of it, I had a little tear, and I said, I want to be like her. It was The Diary of Bridget Jones. That's outrageous. Her boyfriend is leaving her, and she just is barely dressed, and she just puts her tennis shoes on and runs out to balance things out. I went, that's right. So at least I can recognize things that I say, I like that outrageous. But my grandfather had, he was love. He was one of my first views of quiet, unconditional love.
But do you think that's outrageous, though?
Well, yes, unconditional love is outrageous.
When you say unconditional, because
yes.
I was reading a book recently, and it talked about the idea that about play.
Yes.
And that really true play was when the outcome was completely unknown. That was true play. Oh. You know, it's like if you knew the result or you were strategic towards the result, that wasn't really play. That was more strategy. That was more goal orientation. But true play was not knowing the outcome was unknown. So I'm just wondering whether, in a sense, when we enter into something like this, your grandfather would be, where the outcome was unknown, it's kind of an outrageous approach. Maybe not according to the definition, but certainly as an idea.
Well, what you've helped me see is that he encouraged my curiosity and my love of, and awakened me to look around me. To not, the sky isn't just the sky. The stars aren't just the stars. A worm going across the street in the rain is not just a worm in the rain. He would stop and show me the wonder of the worm and how the worm worked and how it would come together and stretch out. And he awakened awe and a form of adoration. And I feel that's always been with me. And yes, I guess I could say that leads me into my outrageousness, or the willingness to jump into the unexpected. And J.R. did once say I was an adventuress. And that has stayed with me.
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it seems to me that you're at a crossroads again in your life. I mean, you're at a crossroads in 1972. And partly because, I mean, here you are, this actress, and of course the idea of being an actress or an actor, as I think is more politically correct to say these days, is to get parts and to have drive towards that, and ambition and persistence and assertiveness, and yet you find yourself in some ways not caring. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's been challenging, but I'm getting the hang of it now. And I am understanding to a much greater and profound degree what it's leading me to, which is more the demonstration of a heartfelt prayer all my life, which became increasingly strong over the last 10 years, which is I want to do God's will. I want to listen well. I want to follow well. I want to have that trust and that faith that it's all perfect here, and that God is running my life, and that I'm a co-creator and a cooperator, and to fulfill that has been my dream. But it felt a little far away. And the last 3 years, I think, through a lot of challenges where so much of what my ego, I'll use the word ego just for poetic purposes now, and indeed it may be have been my ego, but my ego has wanted identity. I am successful. My mother was an achiever, so to achieve in the world was a part of how I was taught to experience my value. And my father was the same. They came out of World War II. They fought for great positions in life in the material sense. So that was their teaching. And it fed an ego to say, well, I want to be successful, and it became acting, and I want to be the greatest or whatever. But that began to diminish very quickly. As I got more of that, it didn't feed me, it didn't fill me. I was going, there's a joke here, and I'm not getting the joke because I'm not getting what they have told me this would do for me. That also became part of what thrust me into a spiritual journey, what I call a divine malaise. And in the last few years, I became very ill. Everything in a material sense dissolved for various and assorted reasons. I felt that I didn't have very much relationship with the blood family. Either they were leaving me behind or life was leaving it behind. All that which had identified me in one way or another through strong family influence, through movie influence, husband's influences, male's influences, money influence, prestige and glamour, was pretty much dissolved. And when I began to emerge out of it, I found absolutely no energy in my engine for the world. So it was like, oh, I'm still here, I'm still in my body, there's things I need to be doing. Didn't have a clue what. And so for a very long time, there was a disturbance in not being able, no matter what I did, to find any of the old desires present or interesting, or it was a flat line. And in all that became a lot of despair because the world was very unfamiliar. And I began to take note that the world runs on that, and that we're fed by that as part of what it means to supposedly be in the world and to be successful and to be somebody and to have money. And well, there's value in taking care of yourself and being responsible to have money. The world needs these things. So there's a level where there is responsibility. But beyond that sense of responsibility, I had nothing. And the adventure that I'm on now is just the adventure. And it's the adventure of a walk with God, of where am I to be, where am I to show up, what am I to offer. In the meantime, I am showing up in my work. I mean, I have a wonderful manager, and I have agents, and I'm doing all those things to set up the structure. Is this where God wants me?
Well, and yet, you know, 1972, you threw on a backpack and you went to India. Mm-hmm. And what could you do to throw on a backpack now? I mean, what would be the equivalent of doing that? Because it seemed to me like when you, the description of what you described to us, what you've told us, those great images of throwing yourself on Shivananda's altar.
Yes.
And the response was someone offering you something. As soon as you kind of threw yourself open, there was a Baba Muktananda offering you something. In a sense, even when you try to hide, but you put yourself where it was necessary, there was a John Roger extending his hand and saying, welcome. So it seems that it's been a very welcoming life in many respects. Certainly.
Well, I would like to comment on, I could never count for the times, I couldn't account for it. It's impossible that John Roger has extended his hand in these years. I've been through many life adventures. I've been through many highs and lows in career and personal life, in wellness or not. And he has been there steadily to steady me as I walk the walk. Mm-hmm. And with the greatest level of abundant loving, beyond measure. I mean, to say that he's the love of my life is as close as I can get. And he reflects to me clearly, as tardy as I might like to think of myself, to own this for myself, he must be reflecting to me the love that I am.
Recently you shared with me you had spent some time with him and he actually had given you a new key to outrageousness. Would you like to share that? That it wasn't necessarily the physical outrageousness, but it was...
He suggested that I blurt. That I blurt. That's my new little mantra. Leigh is to blurt. It's very helpful, actually.
Have you been blurting with us today?
I hope so.
Yes.
Well, I consider blurt to be something that you don't prepare for. Mm-hmm. Prepare for. And the other thing JR suggested to me was don't prepare. Show up, open to spirit, and he didn't then say blurt. That was in a separate conversation, but I'm sure it's included. And let spirit be present.